the Podski with John Baker. For over 1 year, the revolutionary force in audio entertainment.
Ooh, yeah!
Brother,
Let me talk to you! Freak out, freak out!
I just had an out-of-body experience!
The insane in the membrane!
Brother!
Yeah! And I'm here for only one reason, and that's to take it to the limit, yeah!
Somebody stop the damn man!
I'm living on the edge.
Who is your daddy?
Hello and welcome to the Podski. I'm your host, the man of 1,000 gimmicks, Johnny Bake Show. It is episode 63. We have a packed show. A whole lot of shit happened in the last 2 weeks. But we got Teddy Mongoose back, and we have Justin Andretti. And what's going on, boys?
Nothing. I got the new ceiling fan installed in here, so I'm not sweating to death doing podcasts anymore. I feel really happy about that. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm doing this one on mobile because I didn't bring my computer with me today, and so my audio is usually terrible. So sorry, everybody, it's about to be worse. But I need to say really quick that 6 and 3 is 9. 9 is a completion number. Interessante that we are completing a horrible cycle of Phil.
Thank you on that.
Yeah. God, we will jump into that. We are going to talk about the All In, All Out. This is the All In, All Out Fallout show. That'll obviously include the CM Punk firing. We're going to talk about some other stuff later on with Andretti and I. Mongoose has got to do a run out ski today, so he's only he's got to hit another town. But the one thing we want to
do is this is an old school double shot, fellas. I'm running the War Memorial, the Johnstown War Memorial in the AM, and then I'm heading up to run the Erie Seawolves Arena here in the evening. So, yep, sorry about that.
It's all good. It's all good. We got we're gonna kick off the show though today with some sad news and a tribute.
Actually, I want to jump in here real quick. I want to give a shout out before we even get going. I got some really sad news this morning that a local favorite and a good friend of my dad had passed away. This guy's name was Eddie Hudak, who has been to the Cheeseburger Picnic for all the years except for this past year. He was a big supporter of the Pizza Wars. He was a great dude I've known since I was a little kid. Enormous personality, great sense of humor, beloved by everybody. Gave back to the community his entire life. So really tragic that I don't know what happened. I have no idea what happened to him, but everybody's sad today. I had a rough day today going through that and just thinking about Eddie. I've known Eddie Hudak since I was a little kid, and one of my favorite memories of just Christmas time every year was going to the night mass in Beaverdale with my parents, and then walking up the street to Hudak's. To hang out with Eddie and his brother and sometimes his niece and nephew and his mom and dad too. And we would hang out up there for a couple hours every Christmas Eve. And Eddie would get on the radio and listen to the NORAD about where Santa Claus was going to be. And the guy never broke kayfabe, dude. It was amazing. Even when we were way too old, he never broke kayfabe about where Santa Claus was. And
wow.
I already miss Eddie Hudak, and I'm sorry that. I'm sorry he couldn't make it to the Cheeseburger Picnic this year. That's usually not a good sign. You don't want to ask about it, but that's usually not a good sign when people can't make it, when you know that they would be there. You know what I mean? So then I'm going to talk to T3. We're going to come up with something with the Pizza Wars for Eddie Hudak next year. We're going to do something. I don't know what yet, but we're going to do something. So that's something that we're kicking around. But rough day today, man. It was not fun to get that phone call. Anytime you're our age and your parents call you in the middle, out of nowhere, you always think it's bad, and it was bad today, which is unfortunate.
Oh, R.I.P. Eddie. I did not know him personally. I've heard that name for 30-something years.
Yeah,
so.
big Four Still supporter, man. Always, he paid for team meals. He did a lot of stuff for everybody.
Damn, that's sad. But it doesn't get any better because
I was just going to say, let's turn this around by talking about more tragedy.
Well, I mean, you gotta
Yeah.
give it where it's due, and it's unfortunate.
Hey, man, and that's the thing is, right? And that's just it, buddy. Is that, you know what, we get a chance to celebrate life here rather than be sad about the passing. So let's do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're definitely going to celebrate Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk as they both passed away since the last time the three of us recorded. And yeah, just kind of really out of the blue with the Bray Wyatt stuff. We kind of knew Funk was not doing well for a while, but kind of sounds like both of them kind of went peacefully in their sleep. And but yeah, pretty sad the way that the Bray Wyatt stuff kind of went down. But yeah, now they're grabbing holds up in the clouds and telling stories, still making towns.
Also, let's start this first. We'll start with Terry first, because obviously he's the what would have been considered the legend here. What's funny about Terry Funk is that my childhood was spent watching WWF Superstars, and then the Great American Show or whatever that was on Sundays, and then I could watch WCW Saturday night. I'd watch the Clash of the Champions and all that, and that all started for me around like '92 was whenever I was really watching stuff. That was past the Terry Funk Ric Flair run in WCW. It did not have a chance to indulge in any of that. And even in those old tapes that I would buy of the old either Crockett or WCW pay-per-views from the video stores and whatnot, I can't tell you that I remember Terry Funk matches. And so I had always heard about Terry Funk the way that we would hear about, Pedro Morales and Bruno Sammartino and, some of those guys. And then I remember when Chainsaw Charlie showed up with Mankind to fight Degeneration X. At that time, it was the New Age Outlaws, and they had that dumpster match at WrestleMania 14 and all that. And I Chainsaw Charlie's an awesome character, man. And the fact that it was just Terry Funk being a crazy man with a chainsaw. When you're 13 or whatever is one thing. To look back on it that many years later, that's hilarious. And like, what a gimmick change to say, hey, I'm with my buddy Mick that calls himself Mankind, and he doesn't have an ear and he rips half his hair out. Yeah, I'm just gonna walk around with a chainsaw all the time. You might as well call me Charlie too while we're at it. So that was my introduction to him, and then I got to see the things after, specifically Beyond the Mat, him with his retirement match.
Yes.
What was the old boy that was training for the retirement match on the trampoline?
Oh,
what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I just watched that like a year and a half ago, and
I'm so bad. You should edit his name in right here. Okay, but and the dudes, Terry, Terry, I just want one more match, Terry, or like, can I be a referee or whatever in the world he was saying. Dennis Stamp, exactly. You nailed it, dude. Dennis Stamp. And so him just like stumbling away after him training on the trampoline, literally the same way that me and Sidman Legend Cud trained for our match in one of the DCW matches at the barn that we had. Dennis Stamp out there working it, and I thought that was really endearing. And they had that huge Terry Funk retirement show, which obviously he came back from not even probably a year later for another WCW run. And so then I got to experience all this old Terry Funk. And then recently, and when I say recently, I mean the last maybe like 8 years or so, that was when I went back and I watched that Sabu match where Sabu like rips his arm in half with the barbed wire. I did not see, and it's just because there's just not time for anything, especially these two pay-per-views. Actually, the third one, I didn't even see the WCW or the WWF show, WWE, my gosh, on Saturday. I need to see this Flair and Funk match from the Clash of the Champions, and then at the subsequent pay-per-view. I don't remember if it was the Bash or what it was.
It was Bash, because I think that's kind of where I started to see him in the ring. I think was probably like right around that late 80s run. There was the Flair stuff at the Clash and at Great American Bash, and there's a really good Clash of Champions match with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat too. Those are the three that stick out for me the most with him.
Right. And you know what's funny about that Flair thing is that already he was like, quote unquote, like too old to make a run, and had basically like convinced whomever was running the show at that time that we can go and we can make some money. And so, they sort of him-hawed around it. And because it was Terry Funk, they said, okay, go ahead, buddy. Let's see what you got. And the angle that he had with Flair to set it up was basically one of those like, hey, handshake, and then like sucker punch, drop Ric Flair, and now stuff's going to get real. And I thought this was really interesting because Meltzer, this is a Meltzer story, and I guess him and Dave were close. Meltzer said that he called it the Sunday. So the sucker punch was the Sunday. And he said, Dave, the Sunday gotta hit. If the Sunday doesn't hit, the whole angle doesn't work. And so apparently he pulls off a hell of a Sunday with this sucker punch. And Flair, man. So Flair bumps like a champion, sells it like it was like never expected. And he basically got, pow right to the kisser to the moon. And then he gets a pile driver through a table, which at that time was like completely unprecedented. And then that sets up the big match, which then culminates in the I Quit match, I believe it is. That's like the super famous one. But I thought that was really, really cool that it was the Sunday. Dave, hey, Dave, if the Sunday doesn't hit, this ain't going to work. They said, but we'll draw money. That's a terrible Terry Funk, but and then the Bruce Pritchard, your mother's a whore. Your
mother's a whore.
Yeah. If the Sunday doesn't hit, we won't draw no money. That's what I got on Terry Funk. Oh, also, I need to say this, that one thing I did go back and watch, which if you haven't, you should. Me and Uncle Andretti went back through time for a little bit and watched some old Saturday Night's main events. Terry Funk and Hulk Hogan's Saturday Night main event, I don't even remember what year it is, maybe like 1986 or so, is an awesome match. And Hulk Hogan with his working boots on, brother. I mean, like, it is not the Hulk Hogan sell, get up, and then, no, you, big boot, or punch, big boot, leg drop. Hogan is in there herking for 15 minutes, man, and Terry's making him sweat. It's a great match, John. It's a great match. So that's my, because I can't comment on Flair Funk, that's my retro go see it, because that was great.
I don't know what my first experience was with Terry Funk, because like I said, the matches that first jump out to me were the WCW ones with Steamboat Flair. And also the one where you and I watched not too long ago, like you said, with the Saturday Night's main event. But obviously that was in retrospect. But for me, I think it may have been the LJN might have been my first experience with Funk. But then
great figure.
Yeah, the figure. I think the figure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then also I'm a big Stallone guy. I've always been a big Stallone guy. I got to meet Stallone. Ever since I was a little kid, I've been a big Stallone fan. But Terry Funk was in a movie called Paradise Alley with Sylvester Stallone, which is a kind of a pro wrestling movie. If anybody's Armand Asante is in it too. If anybody's looking for something to watch this weekend or whatever, you want to throw a couple bucks down on Amazon, you watch Stallone Paradise Alley. You're going to see a double turn in that movie, like Hart in Austin later on. But yeah, so Terry Funk is in that. He's great in that movie. Then he ends up being in Over the Top, with Stallone, and he's great in that movie too. And then he went on to be in Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that's what I remember him from, because
Yeah,
I
and
love
I also,
Roadhouse.
He also at one time, I think he was only in one episode, but he also did a run with Quantum Leap, Scott Bakula, and that was hands down my favorite show when I was a kid. So I remember Terry Funk from that stuff too. But from a match standpoint, I mean, it's just a guy that he made everything look really believable. He took things seriously, over the top at times with the hardcore stuff like that, but just a super respected guy, from a fan standpoint and from a business standpoint and all the boys, standpoint too. So it's a shame that he is gone, but I mean, hats off to that guy for doing what he loved until the very end, for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say about Funk is that I remember him from Roadhouse, and Roadhouse is a top 5 movie that we would have covered in our top 5 movies from last time that we wouldn't have talked. We're gonna get to it. So that's a spoiler.
We only got 965 more episodes or so to go on this run.
Yeah. But yeah, I just remember Funk in that King of the Ring 98, whenever Mankind was thrown off the cell, and then Funk comes out to check on him because they thought he was legitimately dead. And then I remember Chainsaw Charlie. And then the other thing, it was funny you mentioned about how Bret Hart in the retirement match was because Bret talked about that in his book, and he talked about it for like a couple chapters about how he really respected Terry, and he wanted to make sure he got down there to do this for Terry. And then he bitched about how like 2 months later he was back in the WWF.
Well, and what's really crazy about that is that, oh man, you want to talk about the universe working in weird ways. So if he bitched about Funk, like I remember specifically hearing about him making a big deal about working around to get down there at that time for that match. And then those Terry Funk matches literally ended Bret's career. Like he was pissed that Terry came back. Yeah. But Terry coming back ended Bret's career, man, because it wasn't the Goldberg kick. It was all the Terry Funk hardcore matches after the kick that screwed Bret, that really just scrambled his brains, and then eventually got that stroke and everything else. But with the, what do they call that now, like the post-concussion syndrome or whatever? Yeah, because he just didn't take time off. He was doing hardcore matches, 3 times a month or 4 times a month or whatever.
Right. Yeah, and then when Bray Wyatt.
Well, that I want to say too, real quick, that the Double Cross Ranch in Amarillo is a place that I need to go to. I'm going to go there at some point when I'm driving across country. I've been to Amarillo 100 times, so I just have never gotten off the exit to go check it out. But I've been to the Hart House and to Cornette's Castle Cornet. I'm trying to put together the
Holy Trinity,
an official like wrestling tourism thing, just to go kind of see these sites. But I got to get to the Double Cross Ranch at some point, and I will, because I always stop at that Cece's Pizza in Amarillo right there on the way through town, man. And I just blow my head off of pizza in there. I got a lot of stories about that place, but that's a hell of a town.
Yeah, you can't hide money when you go to Cece's.
That's right, you can't.
See you later.
Yeah, and then Bray Wyatt, somebody that is more current that we remember a lot more recently. Somebody is super creative, somebody that was trying to really change the way that we look at wrestling and characters, and kind of on the forefront of doing some really, really new stuff and that had never been done before. A big highlight that I can, definitely think of with Bray is him winning that Elimination Chamber, winning the belt. That was a big moment. Really thought like things were going to turn around after that, and things didn't. He ended up getting that short run with that belt, but yeah. And then the Firefly Funhouse stuff, like that's like super iconic. That's going to live forever. And that John Cena stuff that he did at WrestleMania 36. Like that, they're gonna do that. They're gonna show that forever. But yeah, super, super sad that what it kind of sounded like is that he wasn't wearing his heart monitor and ended up having the heart attack in his sleep. So sad. I mean, crazy though, but
Oh, and this is a Mongoose original right here. So if somebody else already said this, I would be very upset. But for them being contemporaries, Bray Wyatt was to wrestling, creative and character wise, what Kenny Omega is to wrestling, match style, build, and all of that wise. So the elements and creativity and structure and things that we've seen Kenny Omega implement into matches over the course of the past 10 years. Bray Wyatt did that with characters. And Kenny isn't this super, over the top character, but Bray was. And so,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it was almost like the two big geniuses that I feel like we see, that we've been able to see in this current, crop of wrestlers, creativity wise, would be Bray. And then I would say that almost like wrestling itself as an art form would be Kenny. And that's the only crappy thing about Bray is that he was a fine worker, but what happened was his creative visions very often got in the way of match quality or not necessarily got in the way of match quality, but eventually put his character into situations over and over again where creative itself didn't know what to do with him.
yeah,
And we saw that time and time again. That happened with the Cult, that happened with the Fiend. And I'm sure that would have happened with this Uncle Howdy thing that they had setting up. It's a shame to see, because as brilliant as a lot of the character work was, man, and especially that old stuff with the Fireflies and the Wyatt family coming out and that old like rocking chair swamp stuff.
mm-hmm.
That stuff is so good, man. And it was start a lot with him. That the Matt Hardy run, people forget about that. They did that like the Leader of Worlds thing. And then with Bray, the two big what ifs. And look, man, this is not a dig at either guy, but it sucks that Cena and The Undertaker both were like, this guy was great. Like he was awesome. And if he'd have beat Cena and The Undertaker, like his whole career probably would have been a lot different. And I know that those guys aren't calling those shots of, who's taking the pins and who isn't. But, what if, right? Like, especially that with that Cena, he's got the whole world in his hands thing. Like if he beats Cena and not beats him, but like beats him. Like, this guy is a psychopath, insano. And then the same thing with The Undertaker. He would have been the guy that ended the streak. What could have been? Yeah, what could have been is all I have to say about that.
We've been talking about that for 10 years. It's like we've been saying this for 10 years. Like he was the guy that should have done it, man. And if they would have just kept him as the guy, the creepy guy from the swamp, man, carrying the lantern with the family, if they would have just kept it as that, it would have been longevity for a long time. Because in typical WWE fashion, they keep amping everything up until it gets to the point where it can't go any further. And you can't go anywhere with the Fiend being burned alive. Like that, like it's it. We're done. There's nowhere to go.
They did burn him alive. I forgot about that. I mean, burned to a crisp.
It's such a shame looking back on it. And look, I know even on this show in the past, I've criticized Bray Wyatt's work in the ring. And look, that hasn't changed. I'm not going to go back in retrospect now and change that because the guy passed away. It is what it is, and I still believe that. But when you look at the opportunities that they had with him from a character standpoint and being able to use him as a main event face or heel that never needed a title, what a miss, dude. And what a shame. What a miss. We got a big miss out of that, man. And that's a real shame.
Yeah, that's one thing that I remember from that WrestleMania 32, which is one of my favorite WrestleManias of all time, is that one where he faced Undertaker. And just the fact that like that felt like the moment a little bit too. Like I know that like they did Brock and Brock had, Brocked out for years, but it just felt right. And then even when they did the Raw 30, like literally 9 months ago now. Like that was like the official passing of the torch from Undertaker to him, and it just felt like
Too late.
8 years too late. Like we should have
Well,
had
yeah,
that.
and that's just it. Is that it doesn't help to pass the torch to a guy that's 36 years old. Like you
Yeah,
should have passed the torch to a guy in his mid-20s. And
right.
again, that's not like that's the Undertaker's call at that point in
No.
time.
I know.
Because I'm willing to bet that at that point in time, if they said, "Hey, big fella, do this job and let's be done," that he would have probably easily taken that because his body was bad enough that there is no ego. But yeah, that sucks.
I mean, that guy's legacy is going to live forever in that WWE universe, and that's one.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's nothing good about somebody passing away, but one thing is that that people can kind of look to is the fact that he was so well respected and so loved by everybody that he's going to be featured in every video package for forever. And it's just a shame, man. It's just a shame. There's no other way to put it. They really missed on him as a talent, and it's just such a shame for somebody to pass away the way that he did.
Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, they're up in the clouds grabbing holds and toasting with Owen, and but yeah. So on to better and brighter things here on the pod. We do have some news that has been in the works for a long time that we haven't been able to break on here because we just haven't done it. But the Podski is returning to WrestleMania, and all three of us here on this audio platform are going to WrestleMania 40. So we will be live in a living color. You have no idea what our faces look like, but we will be there.
I'll be in Shawn Michaels pants and a Mongoose shirt.
I'll be the fat guy taking pictures with cosplay Gold Dust in the concourse.
Oh my gosh. If we see Gold Dust again next year, I'll shit my pants.
I'll be the guy holding cosplay Gold Dust like a baby.
I'll also be the guy taking pictures with Ponytail Patterson. Now, if you want to know what Ponytail Patterson looks like, picture the Brooklyn Brawler in the clothes that the Brooklyn Brawler wore, like the big clothes, but a guy much smaller, but also with a beer gut and a huge ponytail.
It's not even like a huge ponytail. It's like a worn out ponytail. Like it's worked too many towns. But yeah, the tickets were secured. We're gonna be in Philly, and super excited about that. But yeah, we had to.
You want to hear some bullshit real quick here?
Go ahead.
I started to do a little pregame for WrestleMania already, right? So
oh God,
I've been going
around. He started drinking 8 months early.
I've been drinking for 25 years, but
dude, if you were drunk from now until April 7th,
just sitting in empty parking lots on a chair, waiting for you guys to show up. So I've been going around to getting my little cheesesteak fix. Okay. Now, where I'm going with this is I got to a point where I wanted to start dabbling a little bit in a little homemade cheesesteak, okay? So I'm not going to pay a ton of money to get steak and cut it up or to season it and buy a freaking meat cutter, like a deli cutter, right? I'm not going to do that. So
why not?
Like, shit.
Because he's been eating steakums the whole time.
Dude, I went to 2 grocery stores and couldn't find steakums. And I almost lost my mind in both of those places, dude. I'm driving all over Burbank. I'm driving all over Burbank for steakums, dude. And I finally
Andretti, the reason why is because California has all those crazy cancer regulations and laws. I guarantee you that you can't have the same reason you can't buy an F650 in California is the reason that you can't find steakums.
Yeah.
That it's just one of those, brother. It didn't clear to regulate
I actually found a grocery store that sells homemade rolls, like nice hoagie rolls. I got 5 hoagie rolls for $2, which is pretty great, right?
Yeah,
but then I got 2 packs.
Someone call Bobby Winters really quick and tell him to tell the boy that it's gourmet time.
I can't wait to fire them steakums up. Dude, I ate so many steakums when I was in college, it was unbelievable.
Oh. Steakums are great, brother. When I was in 6th grade as a latchkey kid, when I would come home my two options were Steakums or Hot Pockets. Those are the two things that I was allowed to make myself whenever I got off the bus. And so me, Steakums, ketchup, and white bread. That was tell me the perfect trio doesn't exist. That was it.
You want to hear a little Hot Pocket story too? That grocery store next door has got a deal right now. You can buy 4 packs of Hot Pockets for $1.99 each. And if you think I didn't buy 16 boxes of Hot Pockets,
I thought you said 16 bags of Hot Pockets. I was gonna say,
dude, I got Mongoose. I got home today. I could not fit the Hot Pockets in the freezer because there's no room. Okay, I tried everything. I'm good at Tetris. I am actually really good at Tetris. So I couldn't even fit everything in the freezer, dude. I took all the Hot Pockets out of the boxes and shoved them
in the microwave.
Random holes everywhere in the freezer. Now I don't know what flavor or what kind any of them are, and it's gonna be like a grab bag every time I go in there.
Oh,
I love it. That's I thought you were gonna say. So I said F it, and I just put 9 on a plate, and I just ate them like Pac-Man.
How long it would take? It would take 40 minutes to cook 9 of them at the same time.
They would be so hot. You literally melt the plate.
The edges would literally melt steel, but the middle would still be cold.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
It makes you question whether or not that little sleeve is even worth it. Like maybe we should not be using it.
So okay. When I worked,
dude, that sleeve is such a gimmick. Go ahead, John.
Yes, when I worked at Wise Markets, let me tell you what, that sleeve don't work because they were 99 cents, or they might have been less than that whenever I was working there. But the sleeves are completely worthless. They're a total gimmick. If you just the little hack is that, like, when you get it out, you gotta like get a little crack in the center. Don't break it in half, but just get it open a little bit and then put it in the microwave. Then you get that little bit of heat down in there.
Okay.
But yeah,
the sleeve exists just so you can hold it while you're eating it, right?
The sleeve is a liability. The sleeve is like the contract that you're getting with so that whenever you burn your face off, you can't sue them because they gave you a little
right. And that's
no, the sleeve is supposed to heat it up. The sleeve is supposed to heat the middle. That's why it's got that silver stuff on the inside.
See, I think that they lied to us about that, and the reality of it is that because if you think about it, the silver on the inside, like, I guess in theory, like the microwaves and stuff could be bouncing off of that, but I'd be willing to bet, man, that silver stuff it's just paint. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, so you're probably eating lead particles, yes, in addition to the turpentine and everything that was in there to stabilize all the stuff that's in the Hot Pocket.
Dude, I love a Hot Pocket. I love a Hot Pocket.
With all the horse meat filled in the Hot
Pocket.
Think
that paper is literally just there for you to hold. I think.
Oh shit! But yeah. So since we got off the cheesesteak, we should do a cheesesteak tour while we're in Philly for WrestleMania.
Oh, there's no doubt I thought we already said we were doing that.
Yeah, well, because I go to Philly all the time, and I've never done the full tour because I usually am just going in and out really quick. But yeah, we're definitely gonna do that.
If we're gonna be in a hotel room with each other for multiple nights, we should do Hot Pocket Wars.
Sure. Does that mean we're gonna hit each other with them?
Dude. You think I'm scared to shave 6 to 8 years off my life by just trying 9 different Hot Pockets? You're wrong. You're wrong.
Speaking of trying 9 different Hot Pockets, how about this All-In show?
Segue of the year to
yeah. All right, you know what?
What a segue!
Yep. I'll take the handlebars in this motorcycle.
Because
really
that
quick.
Was go yeah.
Go ahead. No, I need to say this is that I watched. Did you watch both shows, John? Be honest, all of them.
I watched. Okay, so no, I did not watch All Out, but I watched All In and Payback. I didn't get to All Out.
Okay, no. The only reason I asked is that in watching both of them and knowing what's going on. And Andretti, correct me if I'm wrong. I swear to you, on all that's sacred, that I watched that All In show and I felt like I was watching the Super Bowl, right? Like it pageantry, it felt like a big deal.
Yes.
And it was a great show.
Yes.
I watched All Out and it felt like everybody in the ring was trying to prove something. And it was awesome. It literally, from Saturday to Sunday, the vibe of the shows, everything. I'm struggling to articulate, and this is horrible audio. But what I guess what I'm trying to get at is that you had what was supposed to be your marquee mega show that felt like a marquee mega show, came off like a marquee mega show, and I was so happy with it. And then the next week, you went into what was essentially a B show with a B lineup, et cetera, et cetera. And that might have been my favorite show of this year. And I mean that. Like, that show might have been better than any show from beginning to end, 4 hours long or whatever, that I've seen this whole year. And I'm so optimistic for pro wrestling over the next 6 to 12 months. I really am, because I think that a lot of kinks might have gotten worked out here.
Do we want to do 60 seconds of Punk? Is slap it in here?
Hit the music, John, and then I'll go first.
Yeah, you know what it is. 60 seconds of Punk, and we on one. Coming from the East Coast to the West Coast, 60 seconds of Punk, hard cutoff. What? All right.
So listen, I said this a while ago, that I was scared that CM Punk was going to be the 2002 NWO. And guess what? CM Punk was the 2002 NWO. Nobody wanted him, and the people that did want him were his good friends. And this isn't to say that CM Punk isn't a nice guy. I don't know him. It'd be wrong for me to say otherwise. However, the locker room as a whole did not want him. And the locker room as a whole are going to be better off without him. He is great. Not only is he great, he's beyond great. The fact that he worked the match that he did with Joe moments after having a I'm going to quit the show moment with Tony Khan and Jack Perry backstage goes to show how good he is. However, because he had a I'm going to quit the show moment, the minute before he was supposed to kick off a show with 81,000 people that literally an entire company was like hitched onto, shows how much of an idiot that he is. And so I loved the return. I loved a lot of the matches. I think that he is great at what he does. And I think that the entire company will be better off without him. I wish him the best. If there's a WWE run, I seriously hope that he gets it. I would love to see WWE Part 2. Part of me secretly is going to be watching and be like, what's going on over there? But I'd like to see it, man. I really do. I really want to see it. And so I bid you adieu. Goodbye. Good night. Bang. Now, oh, by the way, Collision on Saturday, if you notice, didn't have 9 squash matches on it because the roster was allowed to be on Collision for once. And so that's going to be very good for Collision, especially going against college football this year. I'm done.
Andretti, you want to take your 60 seconds of Punk?
I don't have too much, but, at some point, if there's 99 people that have a problem with one person, it doesn't matter who is in the right and who's in the wrong. This has been going on for a long time. That one person needs to go. And they made the right call by getting rid of him. That guy is exactly who I always thought he was. He's a piece of shit. He's selfish. He even pissed off Samoa Joe before going out to that match. He almost didn't even go out to that match to wrestle in front of those people because he was throwing a temper tantrum backstage. The guy's worse than Hulk Hogan, and I will stand by that. He is worse than Hulk Hogan, and I don't ever want to see him again. He does not deserve to be in the WWE. He does not deserve to get that paycheck. He does not deserve to get that shine or that spotlight. They don't need him. The guy's a joke. We don't ever need to see him again. Fuck you. I hope I never see you again on TV.
Wow, that was spicy.
He is exactly who I always said he was. Exactly. He proved it. You proved it. All you can go on is past precedent about how people are in their life. This guy's always been a douchebag. He's always been hard to deal with. He's been a bully. He's been confrontational. He knows Tony Khan is a really nice person. He's taken advantage of Tony Khan every chance he's gotten. He's extremely disrespectful. He's a complete asshole to other talent. There's no reason why that guy should ever be on your roster. So, hey, let me say this too real quick. It is not an easy thing when you are in a leadership position and you're not a confrontational, you're not an alpha male in the room like Tony Khan's not. He's a very well-liked, nice guy. It is really difficult to make decisions like, should we terminate this person, right? Or how do we confront this person that is the biggest personality in the room, right? How do we confront that, right? And I've got to give Tony Khan a lot of credit. I go back to that thing after the show in September. I don't know how Tony Khan did punch that guy in the face, and I give him a lot of credit for the restraint that he gave right there on the spot about not losing his mind right there on CM Punk. And I said it before, and I still believe it. You got to give it a chance to get better, and you got to try to get better with everybody and try to make everybody work, so that we can make some money together, right? You owe it to yourselves to try to get together to make it work, right? To make money as a company. And they did that. And the guy has proven that he cannot deal with anyone. He got into fights with people like Ryan Nemeth and Jack Perry. I mean, dude, come on, what are we doing? You're fighting with Ryan Nemeth.
Steven Regal's first day on the job, he called Steven Regal a hunter stooge and said, "I don't trust you." And I bet right now he probably is saying, "Oh, I was just kidding." JK, man. JK, Lord William.
You want to talk about somebody that can't get out of their own way? It's him. And I'm telling you right now, man, history is not going to be kind to CM Punk. It's not going to be. And you just trust me on that. I'm telling you right now, you're gonna remember that history will not be kind to that guy's legacy.
And really quick, because I know John's gonna babyface just a little bit. So before he does, I'll just say one more thing. That CM Punk, so there are the veterans in the room, right? And they're the guys that are there to help you learn. And they're, forever there's been the old guard teaches the young guys what to do. And then the young guys figure out that I should have been listening to the old guys the whole time. And it's one thing when you are the old guy that's in a suit that comes back to town that says, fellas, this is what success looks like. And this is how you get to where I am. And there's another thing whenever you're the guy that comes back to the high school football game wearing your Letterman's jacket, telling the coach what plays to call. Yeah. And I feel like he's been the latter. And it's a shame because he has a lot of cachet, dude. And he's a draw, and he's got fans. And, he sold out the United Center on a rumor. And the reality of it is that first episode of Collision did whatever it did. And then those numbers went down. And you know when they spiked? Whenever Adam Cole and MJF were in the main event against FTR. And then those ratings went right back down again. And so if there were that many CM Punk fans out there, that wouldn't have been the rating pattern. We could put out excuses and we could say that there was a WWE show and there was a UFC show and there was blah, blah, blah. If CM Punk was that dude, they wouldn't have 500,000 people watching on Saturday. They would have something closer to Dynamite. And the only time that they have something closer to Dynamite, or they had something as close to Dynamite from the launch of the show, was whenever they had Adam Cole and MJF in the main event of that thing. And so they'll be just fine.
Boy, that crowd sure wasn't too pro CM Punk this weekend. That was a pretty even crowd and a nice crowd.
Wasn't that something? That something?
Amazing how that happened.
Go ahead, John. You go.
Yeah, so I am not as irritated. I mean, I'm irritated because it's like kind of like Tony. You kind of knew what you bought when you signed up for this, and I kind of felt like he was, and like what Andretti said about him, he was making face, he was turning baby face, and everyone was rejoicing and happy that he was back, and it seemed like he was kind of changed. And then very quickly, kind of realized that things weren't whenever, and like it wasn't quickly, it just kind of happened out of nowhere with Brawl Out. Whenever that happened, then all of these other issues that have been kind of leading up to that came out, and it's like, oh, holy shit, we're back here again. And things kind of never got better there from the start. So I don't know. I mean, it's definitely somebody who took advantage of the system that Tony had in place, and somebody that tried to come in and change and try to make his own company is kind of what it felt like. That was not welcomed. And he took that as a personal attack, and that's kind of how I feel about it, which it sucks. I mean, he is great. I mean, the fact that everything that Mongoose said about him, like literally getting into a like, I want to quit, I'm not going out there, and then going out there and have that match, that's like how good he is, but he can't get out of his own damn way. And it sucks as fans.
Don't forget that he had to get talked into that.
He had to get talked into it. And what sucks is that, that it's a whole lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda with CM Punk. It's a whole lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda would have happened if, he would have main evented WrestleMania, or if he would have not, taken that, not have said all that shit in that press conference, or if he wouldn't have met Jack Perry backstage, which, to really think about that whole Jack Perry stuff, like, okay, I get that, like, if somebody wants to use real glass and like you might have been put in a weird spot to say like, hey, like, we're not going to use real glass, like, that's probably, it's like a safety thing, but like, I don't know, this feels like a big misstep in leadership, and it showed through that it doesn't matter how even bad of a talent can be, if you don't have any leadership in place, nothing's ever going to change. And this is where I feel like we give a lot of shit to Undertaker on this podcast sometimes, but I feel like that is what's missing in AEW, is somebody that says, no, fuck you, this is what we're really going to do. It seems like there's a whole lot of cooks in the kitchen and nobody knows how to make the soup. So hopefully things change. I am optimistic. I heard really great reviews, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it here, about what happened with All Out, but when the foundation is rocked, will the pillars still hold? And that's kind of where I'm at with AEW.
Yeah, and well, the big thing here, John, is the worst thing about CM Punk is that you were the biggest AEW fan I knew, and you didn't watch this show last week, and it's literally his fault.
Yeah.
It's Tony's fault because it's his company.
Right.
But it's because of CM Punk.
Like, literally, my decline started whenever that Brawl Out stuff happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing is that Brawl Out stuff. So all the stuff that we heard right away literally all shook out to be, well, CM Punk, he did throw the first punch. And I got news for you, man. If I am an EVP and I am listening to somebody on the roster sit next to my boss that started this company with me and say how much we all suck and don't know what we're doing, and say, like, come find me, well, then I'm going to come find you. Yeah. So they did. And so everybody always says that, oh, these, sissy and, bleep this out, but these pussy young bucks and blah, blah, blah. Like, they went and found him, man. And you know what they did? Like, they said, what are you doing? And then so he still threw the first punch. By all accounts, he threw the first punch. And so he starts the problem with the press conference, throws the first punch in a physical altercation. Then the elite guys, as much as everybody wants to say that, oh, these elite guys, they run the company, blah, blah, blah. They said, bro, we're done with you. No mas. We don't want any more. And so then Punk got to babyface himself and leak to all of his sources and say, I had these meetings with the elite. I'm gonna set this up. I'm gonna do this and that. And we come to find out time after time that either the story's incomplete or things get strategically leaked to make him look a certain way. And then that whole Jack Perry story, that gets leaked by him before even the All Out weekend and everything, or All In weekend started, because it babyfaces Punk so that he could be the locker room guy. I don't know, man. I'm very frustrated because And this stuff that just came out, that the day that he was released, he leaked the story that he was supposed to meet with the Elite, and the reality of that is that TK calls the Elite and says, "Hey guys, do you want to have a meeting with Punk? We're all going to be together." And then they say no. So again, he gets a chance to leak stories that make it seem like he tried to make this work, when in reality, he tried to make this work in the way that like people in bad relationships say that they're trying to make this work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's literally me being like in a breakup and saying, "Hey, I want you to live your own life. By the way, like, I miss you, and you look good." Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's this weird, like, manipulative, strange thing. And
I don't even care. I don't care who's right. It's you sacrifice one for the good of everyone. I don't care.
And it turns into toxic. You took the best locker room in pro wrestling and turned it into a shit show. And the thing is everybody can joke and say it was all friends wrestling or whatever. But look, man, I don't care if it's all friends wrestling. If the locker room, the people making the money, like to be at work every day, and if they're having a lot of fun and putting on good matches, then I honestly don't care if Colt Cabana's getting a push. I don't. Like, I'd much rather watch people like what they're doing and get paid to do it. And so that hasn't been the case. And it hasn't been. Everybody can tell. And I'll tell you what, John, All In felt like that. It did. That was a good feeling show.
Yeah.
Or All Out, rather, I guess. I get them confused. Christ,
All Out was the second one, right?
Yep. All Out
yes,
was the second
All Out
one.
was the second one.
So Wembley, I don't think I want to go over the whole show. But I felt I'm going to echo what you said, Mongoose. It felt like the Super Bowl. It felt like AEW's Super Bowl, and it felt big. It felt special. I love the setup. It looked fantastic. My only small critique is that like those upper seats were not fully filled, but you still sold 81,000 tickets.
Weren't they by the end of the show?
I couldn't tell.
There was papered off stuff, but they did set the paid attendance record. They beat the Silverdome, and they beat WrestleMania from 2016. What year is that?
30. It was
Dallas?
32.
Was that Dallas?
Dallas, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say one more thing. I'm going to say one more thing. This is the last thing I'm going to say about it. That show in last September, was a very good show. And what did everybody remember from that show?
They only remember the CM Punk stuff, and no one remember
the temper tantrum backstage.
No one remembers the fact that the way that show ended was CM Punk winning that belt, and then MJF and him doing that stare down, and there was never any finish up from that.
And what has everybody been talking about from All In?
No one remembers fucking Wembley. Everyone is talking about CM Punk.
Everybody's talking about the temper tantrum that their biggest star threw and made himself bigger than the whole show. Yeah. And that's all you need to know right there. That's all you need to know.
Absolutely. Yeah, because like no one's talking about, because I thought that All In was, I thought it was really good. I have some gripes about the finish in the main event. I did not like that. But I thought that the CM Punk Samoa Joe match was really good. I thought that the FTR Bucks tag match was better than the second one. I really, really enjoyed this one.
It was excellent. Yeah, it was excellent.
And then I might be an outlier on here, but I really enjoyed the women's match. That is never something that I thought, you could really say a lot in AEW, but I actually really enjoyed the women's match, and it felt good and it felt right.
Well, the thing about it was the match itself was fine. The thing about it was that, look, man, it's fake. You get to pick who wins and who loses and where they do it when. And so Saraya comes out to We Will Rock You with her family, and then Saraya wins. So yes, right? Like, right result, right everything, no problem with that. You skipped over the trios match. The trios match was excellent, and then the Takeshita pinning Kenny.
Yes, it was great
good stuff, brother.
Yeah.
Look, I get it about the women's match. I understand, but I just hope this isn't a long thing. It's going to be a long deal with her as champ, Because there's people there that are maybe a little better than her in 2023 than what she is. That probably deserve that belt a little bit more than she does. So hopefully this isn't going to be a long reign.
They now have a pay-per-view coming up on October 1st, and then they have Full Gear.
Yep.
And I don't see they have to be smart enough to see that she's not the long-term plan. But at that show at that time, if I was booking him in, that's what I'd have done. Is I'd have had her go over. And the fact that that she pinned Tony, right?
I think so.
I don't
like
because
Tony's
Britt
new
had,
gimmick.
Britt had Sheeta in the lockjaw or whatever, and then Saraya pinned Tony, right?
Right, because it was like the end of the Outcast or whatever.
Yeah. So like it's good stories. So I didn't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah, I don't
Which,
like.
by the way, Tony Storm is awesome.
She's awesome, but I don't like that. I don't like that new gimmick though. I
was just gonna say her new gimmick's the best gimmick she's had in years. Tony losing her mind, kind of in her underwear, makeup half done, like looking like being a crazy person. I'm all about it.
Maybe I haven't seen enough of it yet, because maybe that's on me. But
she spoiler alert, she shows up in All Out to do a run in the match, in the women's match there. We're only led to believe that she's just been waiting out of the ring for hours and hours and hours. And she literally is in a bathrobe in her underwear with her makeup kind of done and her hair like Marilyn Monroe, and does a run like, dude, I'm in. I'm all the way in. I absolutely love it,
man. Yeah, I think my favorite match of the night for All In was the Sting match. I thought the Sting match that was my favorite match the whole entire night. I had so much fun watching that match. It was so good. So good.
They haven't booked anybody better than Sting since the start of the company. Sting is the best booked person in the company. Darby Allin's great.
I was going to say, I'm more impressed every time I see Strickland now too, man. I liked him a lot in NXT. Then I kind of wasn't really in on him, too much in AEW because he kind of floundering around. He didn't really know what to do with him. But
he fucked around with Keith Lee for forever.
He's great. Strickland's great.
Yeah. I really want to see Strickland get like a run, like with a good storyline, something that makes sense. Like put him in a prominent spot, because I think like the dude is like really good, and he's been working good enough to get the shine somewhere. I mean, he's already been a tag champion once. Like, let's maybe throw him in there with Moxley.
That's a guy that should be your Ring of Honor champ. If you're not going to use Ring of Honor as developmental, it should be like Jack Perry and Strickland fighting for that belt is what it should be.
And Hook.
Yeah.
Hook. Yep.
Get it off of Claudio. It's not doing us any good with him. Strickland should be the ROH champ.
Yeah. I thought that the Sting match was my favorite match of the night. I
love the Stadium Stampede, man. I thought the Stadium Stampede was great. I really did. Like for what it was and for who was in it and everything, I had a lot of fun watching that, man. I thought that they did a great job with that match. Like the entire card, there's nothing that was on that I'm not going to say that it wasn't a good match, but I'm going to say there's nothing on that didn't feel pay-per-view.
Yes.
Everything on that show felt pay-per-view, and that's what was really cool about that.
Yes. And then I still think that we've been talking about it here a lot. Will Ospreay is best in the world right now. He had a great match with Jericho. Jericho just still proving he can go out and still do it. And I thought that they had an excellent match. And then the Bebe, Adam Cole and MJF, it was a big moment. The match felt big when they finally got to the end. It felt big. And then they just shit all over that ending. But it was all to get them to hug in the end. But we still could have got there without that double pin was completely unnecessary. It felt like weird fan service. Yeah.
And so I don't know, like, and maybe it was all done just to get the 5 more, like to play off the 5 more minutes thing. Maybe that was it. It was unnecessary. But the fact that we got a finish that was it was roll up. It wasn't his move. It wasn't a tap out. I did appreciate that because it's not like this story's going to end tomorrow. Um, and I was actually all in on the Roddy Strong spots because every time I thought we were going to see a turn, we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually did like that, especially at the end when Cole threw the belt out of the ring, pissed off, and then it ends up looking really human. Because like if you're my friend, John, and if you beat me in something that mattered to me, I'd be mad at you.
Yeah.
Or I'd be mad, but I'm not mad at you. So like you're mad, right? You throw your golf club or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you're like, I still got my brother. And that actually felt authentic there. I really did like that part.
Yeah, because while I was watching it, I hated the Roddy Strong part. And then as like time went on, I thought about it. I was like, damn, like they did it right. And they did. I felt All In was fantastic. Because I first watched it in spots because I was on my way home because I was away that weekend. But then I sat and watched the whole thing start to finish, and I thought it was fantastic. And then it's all clouded by the CM Punk stuff. So but then that leads us to All Out, and that's something that I didn't get to watch this weekend. Something couldn't make the cut, and it was All Out. And it was mainly because of the CM Punk stuff, and I was just irritated with all of it. But yeah, I am planning to watch it this week at some point.
You're doing yourself a disservice as a wrestling fan and as somebody that knows all of these people that worked on this show, not watching that show. I'm not saying you need to watch it tonight, but
Right.
like you need to watch it. And if you want to go match by match, that's fine. But the three things that everybody needs to see are the strap match with Starks and Danielson.
So
go ahead.
Really quick, that was really surprising that Danielson stepped in, which makes me really sad that he wasn't able to step in a week before at Wembley.
Well, the thing about that, John, is that he couldn't wrestle at Wembley because he wasn't cleared.
Right.
Meltzer wrote in the Observer Friday before All Out. He said Danielson's timeline looks like he's hit or miss to be ready for the Wrestle Dream show.
Yeah.
Hoping for mid-September, hoping for mid-October. Maybe if it's a miracle, he can make the New York show. If it's a miracle. And then you know what happens whenever you have people in your company that aren't bags of shit? They step up.
Yeah.
And so
that guy,
somebody says, I'm not going to, I don't want to come out to wrestle you, Samoa Joe. And they fire him. And good on whoever thought, hey, we have a dragon. And then that bastard comes out there and not only works the strap match, John, that match is a 25-minute crime. It is violence. It is an assault like you ain't never seen, and it is beautiful. If that's not 5 or 5+ stars, if that's not 5 or 5+ stars, somebody's got something wrong. That was something else, man.
Whenever I saw that Danielson came back, because I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff that happened. I just haven't watched it. So I know that Danielson came back, and that got me really excited because the only thing that All In felt like it didn't have was Danielson. And now that Danielson's back and it sounds like Danielson is slipping in the CM Punk spot on Collision, I'm very, very, that makes me excited. And to also think about one thing that we didn't mention in the Punk stuff that I want to get out here too, that I know that Andretti doesn't care about, but Edge, who if they need veteran help and they want to make a big splash, there is no better person to call. There's only one person available right now, and it's Edge. And you can slip him into a role. He doesn't have to work every single week. He's good. I'm sure that he's really good friends with Danielson. You can let him.
Christian's the one that would bring him in.
And Christian's the one to bring him in.
Re-signed.
Correct. Christian just re-upped. Why not throw them both? If they want a big splash for Arthur Ashe here at the end of the month, You sign me up even more for that.
Well, and the reason it would work is because Christian might not be everybody's favorite. He was certainly a poop fart debut because we thought we were getting like Brock Lesnar or Goldberg, and it was Christian. But
He's
you know
so
what?
good.
That dude he's such a chumpany man. He really is. He's an all-star worker.
Yes.
He's never going to wrestle a bad match.
Nope.
He's a pro on the microphone. And so obviously he knows people in that backstage and gets along to get along. And so I'm 1,000% positive that Edge would be able to assimilate with that locker.
I would like to have him. I know I said that it's not a good call to pay him all that money, but now I think it is. I think it's worth it to pay him to come in and be a well-liked, well-respected guy that is willing to put people over and work as an enhancement guy. Put him on top, and he's going to be a top guy, but he's ultimately there to put people over eventually. And I think that's the right call. You bring in people and you surround everybody with people that want to be there, that are going to be helpful. And I have no reason to believe that Edge wouldn't be that guy from day one.
I think that Edge will give us everything that CM Punk couldn't. Like, he'll give us the feel goods with Edge and Christian. He can do something with the Hardys. They can do the Young Bucks. They can do FTR. They can do singles matches. And it's not like Edge is going to be a dickhead and shit all over
Edge and Christian versus the Young Bucks can legitimately headline a pay-per-view. Headline a pay-per-view.
Let's do it. I'm all in, man. I'm all in.
That's why I'm
not as biggest fan of his work in the ring, especially since he came back. But I think it's a slam dunk hire to bring him in and
they just freed up a lot of money because they ain't got to pay CM Punk.
Well, and I'll tell you what else. And I know that he doesn't care, but me and you guys do, and our little geek squad do. His only chance at the Observer Hall of Fame,
yes,
is an AEW run. It's his only chance because this WWE run did diddly.
Yeah,
he was not getting in after this WWE run. An AEW run legit might make it happen. If it's a strong 3-year run, it can legit make it happen.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to
even if he just is a guy that comes in that is only there for 2 years and is able to
and just has great matches. Great matches, elevates people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
There's something to be said about being a good human being also.
Right.
And Edge already is a very well-liked person.
And Edge is already friends with FTR as well, like really good friends too. So like that makes me think too that like they can make it a reality. So I didn't mean to throw you off there and steal your spotlight, but I had to get the Edge stuff out.
All right. So Andretti, I'm on the cell phone here, so I'm just looking at your our three beautiful faces. Uncle John, if you could just pull the card up, I'm going to go off of memory. Let's see how good I got this. Andretti, we started with Adam Cole and MJF versus the Dark Order, Silver and Reynolds, in what I thought was a very bleh match to announce. But I'll tell you what, dude, to be the opener of a show and to have Reynolds and Silver playing the subtle heel, and then having Reynolds being the person that hurts MJF's neck, and then the announcers play up that Reynolds trained MJF. I thought that was all very good story stuff. And then when MJF comes back as the triumphant babyface, I thought that this match was a wonderful opener. I was disappointed with it being announced, but for it being the opener in the show, I had no problem with it. It was a 3-star match, man. It was as regular could be, but it still was an awesome way to start the pay-per-view. What do you think?
I didn't care either way. I was cleaning while that match was on. I'm not gonna waste my mental energy on Silver and Reynolds at this point.
Wow,
I got you. To me, seriously, for me, I thought it was a really, really fun start. So I am not the pisser that Andretti is right there. I thought that this was a great start to the show. This was not a semi-main. This was not a build your show around it match, but for it being the opener, totally cool. Second match on the show, was that the Big Meaty Men?
Yeah,
no,
Joe
dude, thank you for bringing that. Okay, so that was Big Meaty Men, but it wasn't the Big Meaty Men I was thinking about. Really quick, Shane Taylor, hats off to you, man, because I did not like Shane Taylor matches for A long time. I dislike Shane Taylor matches so much that I quit watching original Ring of Honor. And this guy came out there and looked like he belonged and worked like he belonged, and he lost.
With no help
To set up a Joe and MJF program. Go ahead.
They just threw him out there with no build up to who this guy was. It's just this big guy that we now have on a pay-per-view. They gave nothing.
Well, we have to be watching Ring of Honor, which we don't.
No, and why would I mean? Come on, we got to be able to do something. If that guy's going to be challenging for a match that you want people to buy, he's got to be on Dynamite or Collision and get a couple wins. Just show.
I completely agree with you.
Who is this person?
I completely agree with you.
We only know him because we watch wrestling. That's the only reason why we know who he is. I mean, nobody other than hardcore fans is going to know who the hell Shane Taylor is.
Well, I'll tell you what. That's what's kind of
the guy did a great job. He did a really good job.
That's what's frustrating.
Yeah,
as soon as
awesome.
I saw that Shane Taylor was going to be on the show, I was like, dude, Shane Taylor hasn't been on television ever. And then, like, the other thing that kind of irritated me too, that like I saw that Tony said after the show, was that people have shown that they're going to pay pay-per-views and they know that we're going to put on really good pay-per-views. So there's no emphasis to make TV better or something like that. Like, it's essentially what he said.
That's like saying we're not.
I'd be willing to bet, John, that he didn't say.
I'd
be willing to bet that he didn't say out loud that there's no reason to make TV better.
I'm pulling
like I think that this is you still being like, my glass still has piss in it, because I'm willing to say that he didn't say to everybody, there's no reason for me to make good TV shows.
He said he stopped paying attention to the discourse online about pay-per-view builds because of how good the pay-per-view turnouts in the end.
Well, they're great shows. That actually is true.
It is true.
Here's the thing, dude. If I don't need to watch the shows during the week, then I just freed up 4 hours during the week, and I'll still pay $50 to have great 4 hours every 3 months. So he's not wrong there. I don't care.
I like to watch the weekly shows because I like to get the stories.
You don't watch them anymore.
That's true. That is true. I don't watch Dynamite anymore. I was to sit down and watch me some Raw. But yeah, that is a little. They need to get better at explaining why people are there. I feel like they don't do enough of that, and we've been saying that since day one.
All right, so then the next match was Luchasaurus versus Darby Allin.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, this is awesome. This was another violent assault. It was not the crime scene that Danielson and Starks was, where Danielson literally just starts whipping Starks in the face with an actual strap for minutes and minutes and minutes. But my God, Darby Allin, do what you can to make yourself famous, I guess. This was great.
Yeah, loved it. Luchasaurus looked like a brutal guy. It came off really well. I mean, that guy was pretty damn good.
Picked up steps, put them onto Darby's carcass, smashed the steps into Darby's carcass, triple pile driver or tombstone with a dead eye or snake eyes, and then into like I'm so glad that Luchasaurus got a win that, even though it was a little bit murky, looked decisive as hell, because good for Luchasaurus, man. Because even though the whole angle with this is that Christian says it's his title, the fact that you have a credible, big, nasty man that's holding that belt, I think only serves the story better. So I thought that this was a gold star, man. This was really good.
Yeah.
Okay,
next up, did we get big meaty men?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Miro Hobbs in the next one.
Dude, the only reason that this doesn't have all of the stars is I then had to spread some out to Starks and Danielson, and then Omega and Takeshita, and then Mox, and all for different reasons later. When I first saw this match, if I had 100 stars to divvy out in one show, I'd have given all 100 to this match. This, dude, they do like almost like big man lucha at the beginning, and then all of a sudden the crowd was chanting, and I thought they were chanting "slap that knee" because I thought they were making fun of a spot, and I realized that they were chanting "slap that meat." And these big mother baggers just started beating the holy hell out of each other. And they never stopped. John, this is a 17-minute meat fest. The crowd is chanting. They're chanting, oh my gosh, they're chanting
meat forever.
Slap that meat forever. Oh, it's so good, dude. And these guys are selling in the right spots and no selling in the right spots. And this was freaking awesome, man. This show went from the Darby match was really good. This show went from, hey, this is going to be good, like a good show, to, oh, baby, right here. Because it doesn't stop from right there, man. Like, this was awesome. And then we had the Lana debut, which in terrible AEW storytelling fashion, Rusev either forgot that he was married or there was a. He used to walk around and say that, like, my hot flexible wife has forsaken me or whatever. I do remember that.
Yeah.
But that was also a year and a half ago. So
I don't know why
maybe
they
this will go somewhere.
I don't know why they felt the need to piggyback off the WWE storyline because that she had sex with Bobby Lashley, and then so he wasn't gonna, like, I don't know why they had to piggyback off that. Because I did see that and I was like, damn, why don't we just talk about the hot flexible wife instead of piggybacking off of what WWE did?
Well, the thing about it, John, is that I don't even know if that's been implicated. He went from being he was the the game guy or whatever, and then he was the redeemer, and he would talk about my hot flexible wife, and then he stopped and he was like, my God has forsaken me, my hot flexible wife has forsaken me. But then we never got rationale as to why, and so I don't even know if those two timelines even match. I don't. It was weird, but you know what? Whatever, dude. That match was so great that I don't even care.
Yeah, I don't care either. I don't care. I love the match. I love both those guys. Just give me more of both, or give me more of them together. That's all I care about. Whatever.
Yep.
You want to have Lana out there prancing around in a bra, so be it. I'm not going to tell you not to do that, but I mean, it's right. I don't care. Whatever. Just give me more. Right. Give me more of all of the above.
Right. Then the strap match we covered. Strap match.
Well, we had the next match was Statlander Ruby, which I didn't see any of because I was making fun at that point.
So you know what? I watched that, and that was the one where Tony comes out and Tony costs Ruby, and so that was cool. I feel like they went too long, and if I was willing to bet, I would assume that Omega laid this match out, because this match was laid out like one that was supposed to be way better than it was. And it was only because, like, Statlander's great, but she's not, like, solid, if that makes sense. Like spots aren't crisp, transitions and spots aren't always crisp, everything like that. Like, she's really strong. She's an awesome physical presence. I thought Soho was wonderful in this match. I thought she did a great job. And I love the Toni Storm finish. So, yeah, I mean, that was fine.
Then the next one.
Then we had the strap match, right?
Strap match was next, which we talked about. It was excellent. Ricky Starks looked like $1 million, and then we had the Combat Club versus or Claudio and Yuta versus Kingston and Shibata, which I didn't see any of that either.
So you know what? With this match was fine, and it was. You want to talk about death spot, man? Like, after that crowd saw that match with those people, and that violence and that blood and that finish and everything else, these guys were in the death spot. And you know what? They went out there and they fucking worked. We got to bleep that one. And they worked and they, what's his face? Where Yuta eats a back fist from Shibata, and he hits him so clean with this back fist in the face that Nigel screams out loud, and this is why I won't return to pro wrestling. And then somebody else says something to him, and he says, oh yeah, he aimed for the back of his head, but the front got in the way first, because it looked like he literally sliced through his head Mortal Kombat style. The only thing that was bad about this was the finish. Claudio literally just hits Eddie Kingston with an uppercut, and then Kingston doesn't kick out, and then he kicks out at like 4. And I don't know if that was supposed to happen, or if Kingston forgot to kick out, or if he was really knocked out. It was very strange, but you know what? It was a fine match. Like, it wasn't bad, and it was in a death spot. And so for that, I actually give it a little bit more, credit than I would have otherwise, which sets the table for just gorilla knockers. My God almighty. Omega, Takeshita, folks, just when you think that this Will Ospreay guy is the best guy in the world, this Danielson guy is the best guy in the world, here comes Kenny, man. And I go back to whatever I said on that mid-year show. If you say Kenny ain't the best, you're wrong. Dude, he's so good. This match is insanity from start to finish. Storytelling's incredible. Don Callis should be, Don Callis has his own regular T-shirt right now on Pro Wrestling Tees.
Yes.
That is $109.
Yes, that's so good. It's so awesome.
$109, dude. It's half his face and half a lion face, and it says something in Latin.
Yeah. Andretti, buy that.
No.
Put that on the wall behind you.
Dude, I love Callis, but I'm not spending $110 on a shirt.
You know somebody bought that shirt too.
I wouldn't be surprised if multiple people have bought it. Don deserves it, man. So buy him for Don.
Yeah, buy him for Don.
But guys,
hashtag
this match.
Hashtag buy him for Don.
Yeah, that's a new shirt on podskimerch.com. Buy it for Don.
This match was so good. John, since you haven't seen the show, I'm actually not going to go into detail so that you can see what happens in the match. It's that good.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Even if you know the finish, how they get to the finish, then it's not worth me spoiling it for you.
I just hope that we got the rocket on Takeshita now, and we're going to really push him for something big.
There's no way that he wouldn't, given the relationship with New Japan, given the relationship with DDT, given the position that Kenny Omega's in, and now that there's no CM Punk on Saturday night, that guy's got a chance to shine.
Yeah.
So now's the time. It's past due, and I feel like they are getting behind it now. So let's rock.
I remember
really
seeing
quick,
him.
I got to say two things. And I got to go. So I'll let you go.
Absolutely.
First thing is that 8-man tag was great. I love how, even though FTR is CM Punk's boys, thank you for being pros and for making that match really fun, because the whole match was them and the Young Bucks doing spots together. So John, watch that. If you want to see Dax and Matt do the BT trigger together, if you want to see
oh my God.
Nick, if you want to see Nick and Cash do the big rig together,
oh my God,
and Spike Pot, please, John, it's so much fun. The Bang Bang Gang is incredible.
Love them.
Could not be a better team to put the Ass Boys with than Jay White and Juice Robinson. They're an incredible group. And then the last thing I have to say is that I thought Orange should win until I saw Orange not win. And I'm so glad that he didn't, because that belt now goes to a big-time player. It was not given to some geek on a Wednesday. It was done in front of the a main event, a pay-per-view crowd at the United Center. And then he got his send-off thank you Orange moment, and that was awesome. Podski, love you guys. Oh my gosh, Muhammad Hassan, no!
That main event's great. Orange Cassidy and Moxley just killed each other the whole time. There was tons of blood. Cassidy was bleeding all over the place. I didn't like the ending in the moment. I didn't like him losing to Moxley in the moment. Moxley at this point just feels to me like someone that's really doesn't always need to have a title, but Orange having it taking a major main event player to beat him to win that belt is the right call, in my opinion, in retrospect.
Yeah. And I haven't watched the show at all, but I know that Orange really took a dead title and has made it relevant And I am glad that it is that it's on somebody that is a main eventer like John Moxley. It seems like anytime there is a pull in case of emergency, John Moxley is the one that gets pulled. And he's the guy for AEW. If there's ever any issues,
he should have a long run, but he shouldn't have a longer run than Orange Cassidy had.
Correct. Yeah. Don't let it be longer than Orange Cassidy, but make it prevalent, put some dudes over, have them lose, and have that build into a next feud. Because you're right. I believe that Moxley is one of those dudes that doesn't need a belt to be awesome. And he is fucking awesome.
Sure.
But now that Mongoose is out, we have some stuff to talk about too. Do you want to save the big reveal for the end?
Yeah, we can do that. Do you want to talk about Payback real quick?
Yeah, we will talk about Payback.
Okay.
Yes, we'll save that for the end. So Payback. I watched Payback instead of watching All Out. I thought that Payback was an excellent B show.
With no expectation.
There was no expectations. I was just like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to fire it up. I know that there's some good stuff in there. I really want to watch it. So let's fire it up. And I thought that it was excellent. That steel cage match, Trish Stratus might be women's wrestler of the year.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt for me. I mean, Rhea Ripley's excellent, but Trish is on another level right now.
That literally that steel cage match could be it's not match of the year, but it should be mentioned as an honorable mention.
It should be women's match of the year.
Yeah, it's by far women's match of the year. It was so good. I went in there with zero expectations, and then I was so pleasantly surprised. And then they had the turn at the end with your girl Zoe Stark, who
she's excellent.
Which is a good launching pad for Zoe to get her the rub and make
it's wild that Trish Stratus is better right now than she's ever been. And she took all that time off and came back, and she's the best women's wrestler in the world right now. It's crazy.
Well, I don't know. I think Mercedes Moné would have something to say about that.
I don't know. I think, we haven't seen enough of her. We haven't
seen enough of her. Yeah, right.
2 matches. So I mean, it's look, there's a lot of people that can lay claim to that, but I do think this is women's match of the year so far. And if I'm placing my vote right now for women's talent of the year, it's Trish Stratus.
Yeah, I absolutely thought that match was incredible. I was really, honestly, really not anticipating the just that being that good. And
that crowd gave her a standing ovation after the match.
Yeah, they did, which was crazy too. But yeah, then we got into the LA Knight and did the LA Knight and Miz stuff right away, which I thought was fantastic. I like that they bring in Cena. Cena, I've come to appreciate him a lot more now that he's gone. What a better person than to put LA Knight in there with than John Cena and The Miz. The Miz plays his role so perfectly.
Yeah, excellent.
Somebody who we consider a major geek, but somebody who has such a pivotal role on the roster that no one does it better than he does.
Exactly.
And then we had this United States title match with Rey Mysterio and Austin Theory. I thought I didn't have much expectations for the match just because it's kind of like we already saw this on SmackDown a couple weeks ago, and now we're running it back again. Felt like Mysterio did really well. Theory was a dead commodity, dead champion. So let's put him out there with Rey Mysterio, somebody super experienced. It's insanity to me too that like Rey Mysterio, he still flies the same way that he did like in 2003. Like, it's crazy 20 years later, and like he still like he just has like his own way of doing things, and it all looks great.
My only real complaint about this match was that I wanted to get more out of Escobar involvement somehow. I don't know whether I don't know where or what, but I feel like we've got to start doing more with him and Ray or him and Theory or something. Like he's got to be more involved here.
I
We
agree.
got to get the LWO more involved in things. If they're gonna be a real faction, it's got to be taken a little more seriously than what it is.
Yeah, it seems like they're dragging their feet a little bit, and I don't know if that's because they're dragging their feet to get to Mania for something big
Well, I
or
think
something.
the fact
Or-
that the Judgment Night really took off the way that
Yeah,
they did.
yeah. Um, that really actually leads us into the next match, which was the Steel City Street Fight, which was Judgment Day versus Owens and Sami Zayn. That match, for a WWE Street Fight was incredibly fun. I loved it. The fact that Kevin Owens got color, well, fake color probably. Loved it. I thought that this match was so good. So well done. Love the interference and the fact that Judgment Day leaves with all the gold. Great. And the fact that JD McDonough did the save too.
It was
really
time. It was already time, I think, with Owens and Zayn, and they put it on the right people. I'll tell you what, man. Damian Priest is very quickly build himself a nice little career in the WWE.
Oh yeah. Dude is going to cash in on somebody, and he's going to be really important to I'm assuming he's going to cash it in on Rollins or whoever. If somebody beats Rollins, maybe I would assume that they probably want to put it on. It might be Rollins. But yeah, I love everything that Judgment Day is doing. They did such a good job. I love this card. Felt like they hit on every single thing they did the whole way through this card. And then they do the Grayson Waller effect with Cody, and then he reveals that he pulled some strings and he got Jey Uso drafted or traded basically to Raw.
The thing too about that tag match, just tying into what you're saying right now about Jay. I'm grateful that they didn't put the belts on like Jimmy and Solo or somebody.
Yes.
They got it away from that bloodline.
Got it away from the bloodline. Yes. Yeah, grateful for that. I'm here to publicly state that Jey Uso is men's wrestler of the year. He's my early pick. He was not mentioned in the midseason awards, but I'm putting Jey Uso as my men's wrestler of the year. Not MVP, but he's the men's wrestler of the year for me. And that crowd was hot for him. They were hot last night on SmackDown.
I just hope they take advantage of it and they do something with him, because that guy's got main event talent, man. And he could be the next guy after Reigns that is a huge baby face. He's a hell of a talent.
And I think that just furthers that, because they said that somebody has to go. So they said on Raw last night that somebody's got to go to SmackDown because it was a 1-for-1. I'm assuming that's going to be Cody, and that's how they get Cody back to Roman, like to plant some seeds early. But I think that we're on the road. They are not on the road to Survivor Series. I think they got one more in between now and War Games. So I think if they're going to do War Games, a good War Games would be Cody and Jay with Kevin and Sammy versus Judgment Day.
Sure.
So I think that's interesting, depending on what happens with Cody. I'm assuming he's going to go to SmackDown.
Are we going to get another defense from Reigns before Mania? It's already September.
He'll do one. He'll probably do one at he'll definitely do one at Royal Rumble. They always have a championship match at Rumble, and maybe one beforehand. Right before Mania, but I think we only got about two. We're getting two max before.
Yeah.
I think that's all they got. That's usually what it happens. So who knows?
So this next match with Ripley and Rodriguez, for me, it just went too long. I didn't like the build. I never felt like Rodriguez was a threat, even though I love Raquel Rodriguez. I think she's awesome, but the build wasn't great for her. It didn't feel like Rhea was ever really in any danger of losing that title. It just went too long. It went 17 minutes. It just went too long too.
Yeah, I felt like if it was because I started to feel like, damn, like we could cut this like about 5 minutes shorter. It would have been right in the sweet spot.
And she look, Rodriguez is a future women's champ, but not yet. Not yet. But yes, definitely she has a look. She definitely is over with the kids, and absolutely. I am 100% with you.
and then cap it off with this Rollins and Nakamura match, and them just selling the fact that Rollins is got that back injury. This is the best where's this Nakamura been?
I don't
Why
know, but
haven't they used this?
I love the fact that it's because it's another person calling shots is what it is.
Well, yeah, that is true. That is the truth.
I don't know if you watch Raw, but Nakamura is the Nakamura that we've wanted for all this time. And he is a psycho and funny and an idiot and great.
Yes.
And like all those, and I say all those things in a very good way, because I think that guy is fantastic. And look, man, everybody that thought that he was over the hill and that there was no gas left in that tank, man.
There's a lot of gas left in that tank.
We were all led astray because that guy had a hell of a match at Payback, and he is awesome. I thought they were going to pull the trigger at Payback with him and Rollins.
Yeah, I thought they were too. I kind of like that they didn't, and I like that they're going to keep this going. But yeah, I absolutely love. Oh man, it's been so long since we've had like a Nakamura like this. Like,
when is the next? What is their next show? What is their next one?
Let me check real quick. I am unsure because I know that usually
I didn't even hear him mention it.
Let me check real quick.
Yeah, because usually they're pretty good about talking about what's coming up next, but I don't remember. So I guess technically the next one is NXT No Mercy at the end of this month. I don't know what the next one is after that.
Fastlane. And then they have Crown Jewel November 4th, and then November 25th is Survivor Series. So they got 3.
Okay, actually, we've got Fastlane on October 7th, and that's a month away. That's pretty quick.
Why do they have Fastlane in October?
I don't know. That's a weird name for a pay-per-view that's not before.
Usually Fastlane is usually the one because they're going in the Fastlane to WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that, but we've got one more before Survivor Series, which will be the end of November.
And then,
so we've got, I think we're starting to see the build towards what that's going to be at Survivor Series. That's probably going to be a hell of a show.
Well, what are they going to do with Crown Jewel? Because they'll have to have Reigns defend at Crown Jewel. So that technically means
anybody.
3.
Okay, yeah, I guess you're right. So I mean, they're going to just throw somebody in, whether that's McIntyre or it's Lashley or somebody. It could be any of those guys. It's not going to be somebody that's going to contend for the belt.
That was interesting last night whenever Jay came out, and then as soon as Jay was leaving, they had Drew McIntyre's music hit while Jay was still making his way up the ramp. I thought that was really...
I don't know what they're going to do with McIntyre, but the Riddle McIntyre thing to me was dead in the water instantly. So I'm not a Riddle fan at all, but they probably can still get more out of McIntyre. He's a unique person to have to work and try to storytell with because he's so much bigger than everybody else. Yeah. So it's probably a little bit difficult to use him unless he's the guy. You know what I mean? So right. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but they're going to probably end up throwing somebody's going to get thrown to the wolves at Crown Jewel, and hopefully it won't be Jay unless it's going to lead to something bigger.
Well, yeah, you're right. That just really sucks that we got.
I don't want to see Reigns beat Jay again. I don't want to see him kick his ass again. Like if we're going to get that match again, I want Jay to win the belt. Yeah,
and it's definitely you don't want Jay to end that storyline now. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't want to see Roman and Jay run it back. Who knows if they do like some type of weird tag team style thing where it would be Jimmy and Solo. Because it seems like they're holding on to Reigns, like he's the attraction now. They fully have transitioned him into the attraction where he's only wrestling like maybe 6 times a year. So, and I'm okay. I don't know if I'm okay with that, but it keeps him special, and that's what's important. But yeah, I thought that this Payback show was awesome. I also want to mention that Gunther and Chad Gable had a hellacious Intercontinental Championship match in the main event last night on Raw. That was awesome. And they're going to run it back again, probably. Like, I don't care if they should just say, well, they can't make it a best of, there's no way they can't make it a best of 7, but they should just run it. I don't care because those guys are awesome.
It's been 3 already, right?
So yeah, it's been 3 already. They can't.
Well, I don't know. Maybe this is going to lead to Gable doing something. I mean, is it out of the realm of possibility that they would put him in Imperium?
I saw something that said that somebody would join Imperium, but I can't remember who it was. I forgot
They're
already.
kind of pushing Kaiser, right? That everybody's really pleased with him.
They've been saying that Kaiser is that a lot of people backstage like him and they like his mic work. So that might be a guy that they could transition Gable to like as a really cool like mid-card story. And then like Gable would work his way back to Gunther. I don't know. I don't really know who Gunther should lose to. I don't think it needs to be anybody right now. He just broke the record, but I don't
keep that belt. Keep that belt for a while. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. It's got to be important, you know. So hopefully,
if they've shown anything, is that this trilogy of matches that him and Gable have done has made Gable look credible.
Exactly.
Which is what he's sorely lacked because they just haven't given it to him.
Right.
And I've been pleading for them for 4 years since he came onto the main roster to put that guy in a prominent position, and they finally did it.
I was a huge American Alpha fan when they were in NXT. I thought those guys were awesome. So I'm happy. I'm happy to see him getting some. Maybe this is the push. Maybe this is the push that he got 3 matches that in a big slot against a guy like Gunther, and he was able to look great. Maybe that's the push. Maybe that's all it is, and that's okay. If that's all it is, and that's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that is Payback, and I think we've made it. I think we've made it to the big reveal that we talked about earlier. But this is something that comes from your brain, and that we've been planning, more or less you've been planning in the background, but we've been talking about it for a long time. And that is the Podski 100. We are going to be putting together a list of the top 100 greatest wrestlers of all time. And now there are rules to this that I'll let Andretti get to. But this is something that is going to be very complex that we've been working on for a while. And we're going to be rolling this out not right away because we're still in the stages of getting it all together and compiled. But we want to do this in a style of if you're familiar with the NFL 100, they like to do pieces on each person that are, you know, a couple minutes long, and then the reasons why that they are in the list. So it's selected by people that you have seen and or heard here on the Podski. And so it's not just a rando list of people that, that are just not affiliated with the Podski, but Andretti's going to be a part of this. Mongoose is a part of the voting. The Podski Doc JC, he's a part of it. Bricks Malone and beautiful Bobby Winters. Everybody that's going to WrestleMania this year with us in the group is going to be a part of compiling this list of 100. And I'll give it to you, Andretti, to put over the rules and regulations of this list.
So it's kind of the top 100 greatest ever, but we set the timeline to start with Hogan's first run in the WWF, because basically that's where our lifetime watching goes back to, and it's kind of where wrestling changed whenever Hogan took over and started running, and the WWE was off and running from there. So I think that him winning that belt the first time is a really good place to start, because then we can pay, homage to San Martino and Superstar Graham and Morales, Gorgeous George. I mean, all those guys that came before Hogan. We're gonna pay our respect to all of those people, of course, but it's not the same. It's really not so much the sports entertainment in the way that us and our listeners think about it, right? It kind of starts with Hogan, right? Hogan's first run is where everything changes, because now he's Vince Jr.'s guy, right? He's the handpicked guy from Vince Jr. It is the beginning of the era that all of us are the most familiar with, right? As sports entertainers and lovers of this industry. So we kind of set the first date to where Hogan wins the belt from the Iron Sheik. And with that said, we're trying to keep it so that if the bulk of someone's run came prior to that, we're going to probably not include them in our top 100. Now that could be guys like Nick Bockwinkel. That's going to be guys like Backlund. You're talking about who else did I have on that list? There were Harley Race, guys like that who had monumental, instrumental careers in this industry, but they were maybe kind of like on the downside of where they were at. Even the Iron Sheik at that point, because if we just treat Harley Race as King Harley Race, or if we only look at Bockwinkel on the downside of his career and we rank him 96th, right? Nick Bockwinkel was one of the top guys ever. So yeah. to not include what he did prior to Hogan winning the first belt in WWF doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't make any sense to grade him you can't just look at Harley Race's King Harley Race run and say we're only gonna measure him based on that. It's just silly, because the guy might not even make the top 100 at that point, and that in itself is a crime, right? So we don't want to do that. It's just stupid. So we're going to try to do that, to hold ourselves to that. We're not gonna use like career tag team guys. So you're not gonna see the Freebirds. You're not gonna see LOD, pop up on these lists. And sorry, Cornette, you're not gonna get the Midnight Express either. You know what I mean? So I apologies to you for that. But even though those guys are fantastic, those groups like that of career tag team guys mostly probably aren't going to get in. So we're going to try to we're just kind of going to try to set some parameters, and we're going to explain all this in a disclaimer every time we do the reveals, to let everybody know kind of what the rules were for this and kind of how we got here and why certain people aren't involved.
Yeah. So I guess a question for you right now is that you said about the tag team. So can I say like Jeff Hardy can be on the list?
Jeff Hardy, I talked to you about this too. We're probably going to have to do a wrap-up show after this is all done. We're probably going to have to do a quick wrap-up and talk about kind of what were the biggest issues that we each individually faced. Because Jeff Hardy is a perfect one, right? This guy's got a decorated singles career and a decorated tag career. So for me, because the singles run is so good and he has got longevity where he's won belts and things like that, that's a guy that should be included. Marty Jannetty is also an eligible guy that could possibly be included, right? Now, just because they were tag team champs doesn't mean they can't be included. But I don't think that Demolition Axe should be included in the top 100, because he's always been in Demolition for as long as we've ever known the guy, right?
Also, great hair at SummerSlam.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got like Animal. Like Animal shouldn't be shouldn't be treated like a singles guy. I don't think that even Michael Hayes should be treated as a guy when he's been nothing but a Freebirds guy, all those years. So I mean those are the reasons why we're going to try to keep those guys separated from it. And look, I'm sure that down the road, maybe next year we'll do a top 50 tag teams of all time or top 100 tag teams where those guys are going to get their just due. But for right now, I think we got to keep it predominantly to singles wrestlers.
Yeah, and as a shameless plug, I will plug one of the shows that Andretti and I did early on in the Podski days, the top tag teams of the 1990s. You can catch that in the archives. But yeah, I'm super excited I haven't started my list. I know that you have got your list like fleshed out and everything. And the one important thing about the list is that everybody's list obviously is going to be different, but it's going to be different for a lot of reasons, because what we're implementing is a point system. So if I can choose my own categories of how I want to score people. So if I set up 5 categories and the most points that say like Flair, if I have him at number 1, I have him at number 1 because he scored 10 out of 10 on promos. He scored, 8 out of 10 on work rate. He scored, 10 out of 10 in charisma and yada, yada, yada. So once we get everybody's points collected, we're going to take everybody's lists, combine each entrant's score, and then that's how we'll get the list of 100. So we're going to come up with a system where because I really wanted to make sure that we came at this from like treating everybody like individual analysts, right? Where Correct.
Let people come up with their own criteria of how they rank people. Okay, let them come up with that. And then based off of that, where everybody fits into our official top 100 is going to be because of a point system based on where they came in from everybody's individual list, right? So maybe if everybody has, Ric Flair in the top 3, right? If everybody comes in and says Ric Flair's top 3, maybe, if you're placed 1 to 5, you get 50 points or whatever, right? So that every time somebody is in a category across everyone's lists, that's going to equate to a certain numerical value in the official scoring.
And this will not be the BCS style scoring.
No.
But yeah, super excited about this. The scoring is going to be very interesting to see how.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it too, because I think that there's going to be guys in there that some people are more familiar maybe with AAA or with CMLL, or some people might be more familiar with AWA or something, right, from back in the day. And maybe they're going to add people in there that might be a little higher for them than what they might be for some of the other people. And what's good about this is that that's all going to get fleshed out, because if I don't know anything about Conan, right? If I put Conan at 98 and he gets a low score for me, but let's just say Brooks Malone is a huge Lucha fan, right? And he knows that Conan had a big run and puts Conan really high. Well, okay, well then now it's going to even itself out, because Conan will get a lot of points from Brooks Malone. It might not get a lot from me, but he's going to get a lot of points in the official scoring. You see what I'm saying? Like, yep. It's all going to get fleshed out in the end.
Yeah. That is what's really exciting, is that we're going to have a lot of parity, because I'm more or less like
we want that.
And we want parity. We want it to be a really defined list, and just because it's really important. And so this is something that you're going to be hearing us talk about a lot. We're going to plug the shit out of this. So please bear with us as we flesh out all the lists and everything as we roll this out, because we want to be able to put this on YouTube. We want people to check out what we have to say, and we're going to drop these. Who knows? We're going to try to drop them 10 at a time. So we'll do like 100 through 99, and then we'll do, and then 1 week, and then the next show we'll do 90 through 81. And so that's how we're going to try to drop these in. And we don't have like a definite timeline of when we're going to do it, other than the fact that it is coming and we want people to be aware of it. And that way that it gives the listeners something to look forward to, and know that, we're working on something really big here that we're all going to be super proud of once we get done with it.
Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to it too, because I'm going in there almost every day, and I'm changing numbers a little bit, and I'm adding categories and defining what my challenge at first was not the names, because I have like 195 names written down on an Excel spreadsheet. Okay. But yeah, to define exactly what my own categories are, and then to just be as painfully objective as I could possibly be with the number values that I'm assigning to those people. I'm taking this really seriously. And there's people in there that, there's going to be names in there that maybe other people aren't going to come up with, that I think are really important. I mean, Tatsumi Fujinami is a big one. He had those matches with Ric Flair in the 90s that are super important, super important matches that guy's going to be a part of my list. And maybe other people will add him, maybe they won't. But, that's where the parity is going to come in, where, if I have Fujinami at number 60 or whatever, and nobody else does, and then when we get talking about number 60, I'm going to mention it when we get in there, and I'm going to say Tatsumi Fujinami was a guy that I had at number 60. Here's why. Then we just move on to the next thing. So I think there's going to be a lot of really good talking points that are going to come out of this. Yeah,
super excited to get this going. I'm hoping to start my list tomorrow as recording here on Tuesday after Labor Day. So but yeah, super excited for this. And if Triple H isn't in your top 10, then your list sucks.
I mean, the toughest thing that I've had to overcome so far by doing this for the last couple nights is just holding myself really accountable to being objective. Is the toughest thing, because there's going to be people that should be included that maybe they're not your favorite, and maybe they're not. Like, a guy like CM Punk is a guy that you've got to be honest about. You've got to be honest about how good he is or how good he's not, and you've got to really hammer on that. So there's challenges. And I'm really looking forward to talking to everybody else about what their challenges were and who some of the people were that they had a really hard time kind of going back and forth about the placement. And I'm really glad you brought that thing up about Jeff Hardy, because I was struggling with that too already, where I was kind of like, I gotta put him in, but I don't know how much. You know what I mean?
Because like Edge and Christian would be a really good case for that, because like Edge went on to have this like really, really big, career in WWE, multiple world champion, multiple intercontinental champion, and Christian kind of left to the wayside a little bit, where he only had like that one world championship run. But now he did really good, and he did really good in TNA and NWA
that's
and all
where
that.
It's going to get really. That's where it's going to get really interesting with the debate, because how are people going to weigh TNA versus the AWA versus CMLL? Like that is where I'm really interested to talk to everybody.
And I think that this is another disclaimer too, is that this is just not limited to WWE, AEW, TNA. It's everywhere. Any little nook and cranny where you can find wrestling, from the time that Hogan won the belt until now, add it in there. If you think that Joe Keys at PWX Fight Society deserves to be on the top 100, or if you think Bushwhacker Luke at MCW in Hollywood deserves to be on the top 100, that's what we're trying to hammer down.
That's
here.
Where I'm fascinated with how people are going to put their list together, because you look at a guy like Sandman, who was ECW world champ, right?
Yeah.
ECW world champ. How do you weigh that versus Rick Martel being the Intercontinental champion?
Right.
Like that's where it gets tricky, and where you've got to be really careful about being consistent with your grades. You've got to come up with a system where all of us individually have got to come up with a system where we understand that, we treat the AWA world title in our brain the same way as we treat the ECW title, right? Or the same way we treat, the AAA title. Like you got to almost kind of come up with your own baseline and then move up and down based off of those baselines for your categories. It can get really tricky. You're going to get frustrated, because I've been frustrated moving stuff around, because again, I'm trying to take this really seriously. I want this to be good. I want this to be as objective and honest as possible. And to do that, you've got to really kind of dial in on exactly where your baseline is for your categories.
Yeah. And so like, as we said, like this is very, very important to us. So we want you to all listen and get engaged. If you want to reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram, hit us up at the Podski, _Podski. Leave us in the comments on YouTube as well, because we're reading those and we're answering those as well. And even on Facebook, we're everywhere. So wherever you are listening to this, drop a comment, find us. We're easily findable. So let us know, and we'll answer any questions or take comments and feedback and all that as well. Because like the Podski 100 is going to be it is a really big deal. So and it's not going to go away.
Sure.
So, but yeah, that should be I think we got all of our shit in, which is insanity that we did all of that. But yeah, you got anything else you want to cover before we roll out of 10?
No, the Tiffany Stratton Becky Lynch match, I think, is tonight on NXT, which I won't get to until Thursday. But I'm still on the fence about this NXT show in Bakersfield and whether or not I'm going to drive up there at the end of the month. I mean, that's like a 7 or 8 hour commitment to go up there. 2 hours up, 2 hours back, pre-show, getting food, all that kind of stuff. I mean, we're talking about a 7 or 8 hour commitment to go up there.
Yeah.
As of right now, I don't think that they've got me hooked yet to want to see enough to drive up there for that. But I'm willing to try. If you can sell me on what you're doing, maybe I'll roll up there. But I'm definitely going to watch it at the very least. But look, man, I'm optimistic about where things are at with AEW. I'm just hoping that with the elephant in the room gone, that if nothing else, the morale will go back up and people will be happy about showing up for work. And that's something that I take really seriously. So I'm happy about that. Payback was excellent. Raw was good last night. We're moving forward with a lot of good stuff. So hopefully things are just going to keep going in the right direction here, man.
Yeah. And I'm going to recklessly speculate that Edge is going to sign in AEW now that they got the money freed up from CM Punk. And that is what I'm super excited for, because that's what I want, because they almost had Edge already one time. Why can't they get him this time? So,
Sure.
but we thank you for listening. And make sure you check us out on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at @the_Podski. Check us out on YouTube. And don't forget to check out Hot Shots Wrestling Alliance. That is where the Podski doc, JC, and I are doing our continued My GM journey to the Podski Mania, or Hot Shots Mania. So we are closing in on Survivor Series there, and be sure to check that out. That's every other week, and then we got the 3-man booth here on the off weeks. So we will continue that, and we will see you next time on the Podski.